Opening up the UFC Vegas 105 fight card, we have Loma Lookboonmee taking on Istela Nunes. Loma Lookboonmee, 9-3 in her career, 4-1 in her last 5. She is riding a 3-fight win streak. She's taking on Istela Nunes, 6-5 in her career, 1-4 in her last 5. She's coming off that freak injury loss 2 full years ago. Loma Lookboonmee might be the biggest favorite on the card, or if she's not, she's tied as the biggest favorite on the card. And she's a very good fighter. Very good Muay Thai striker. She's got good volume. She's tiny as shit. Her and Taurus Finney are like the same height. They're both 5'1". They're super small for the division. She's undersized for sure, but she still has power. She's shown that she is more than just a striker. We watched her out-wrestle former Lock of the Week champion Sam Hughes. We watched her out-wrestle Denise Gomes. We've seen her out-wrestle Elise Reed. Combined 6 takedowns in those fights. And while her takedowns have improved quite a bit, if she gets taken down, she's not quite as good off her back as she is on top. She's coming off that pot shot win over a very big Bruna Brazil, which made it 3 in a row. She's taking on the returning Istela Nunes. She is 0-4 in the UFC, has not won a UFC fight just yet. Pretty rough go out of it. And she only has 11 UFC fights. What the hell's her record? 6-5. Yeah, see, look at that math. Rain Man. She only has 11 MMA fights, but she does have a ton of kickboxing experience. She started as a professional kickboxer and then transitioned to MMA. She's very fast, good power, incredibly versatile striking offensively. If you ignore her actual MMA record and you just watch her compete, you just look at the fights, you ignore the nonsense, and you ignore the last fight where her arm snapped in half, you'll see she's pretty dangerous. She comes forward. She tries to make things happen. She's a fighter that will fight. She's not afraid to engage. The problem is giant grappling holes. She's coming off that freak injury loss where she braced incorrectly off a takedown and her elbow just like literally clean snapped in half. She's supposed to fight a few weeks ago, but visa issues had that fight bumped. Loma has had quite the evolution in the UFC. Tiny little striker turned into a tiny little mixed martial artist. The ability to shoot a takedown if she needs to in this fight is going to be huge. She should be able to outstrike Istela, but in case she can't, at least she has a backup plan. That's why Loma's a tremendous favorite. That's why Loma's the pick. I will say these odds are getting crazier and crazier because, yes, Istela is winless in the UFC, but she doesn't suck. The last fight was a freak injury loss. She's got power. She's got striking. And Loma is tiny. If Estela's just a bully in her face, letting her hands fly, this could get dicey. Minus 700 should be the favorite. It's just starting to get a little wide. What do you think, Jakey Boombaloots?
Yeah, I like Istela Nunes. She is a former Lock of the Week. I had her as Lock of the Week versus Dudakova. Obviously, what happened. Last week, or UFC London, whatever it was, she was matched up against Molly McCann. I had already placed a future bet on Istela Nunes to beat Molly McCann. That was going to be some of the best odds of the year. She was like a plus 375 or plus 325 or something to Molly McCann. She is a very high-level striker, and she trains with high-level people. This is an ATT girl. She's getting good looks in the gym, all the good coaching. She's been around that gym for a long time. Has definitely had a rough go of things, but she is a competent striker, really fast with her hands. Not a ton of power, obviously. She's a small girl herself, but a lot of speed in her footwork. When you look at a girl like Loma in the striking, Loma's going to be my pick. She should win this fight, right? Because she does have the backup wrestling, and she is probably the more technical striker. But a lot of times in Loma fights, it takes her a little bit of time to build into the fight. She's got that typical Muay Thai style, which is just kind of plot forward, wait for you to throw, and she's going to throw a little bit harder. Wait for you to throw, and she's going to throw a little bit harder. And then as the fight progresses, she will start building combination of that. You throw, and then it's pop, 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 the Muay Thai style. And what I worry about a little bit too is if this starts turning into a tit-for-tat situation, the striking, and that's all it really is, this comes down to a judge's decision because Loma is a girl that doesn't really hurt people. She doesn't have big moments, right? Her strikes are fast and she'll pop a nice kick or she'll pop like a lead kick or a nice little combination, but she's not hurting girls and she's not having those wow moments. So if this is tit for tat, it comes down to the judges being like, I don't really know. And he talked about going to the backup of the wrestling. She doesn't really shoot takedowns. It's a lot of Muay Thai trip type wrestling. So if she gets in the clinch, she can grab you, she can clinch you, she can trip you. There's Muay Thai clinches, and she can do stuff like that. Istela is very quick with her footwork. She's in, she's out, she's left, she's right. So if you're relying on these kind of clinch takedowns, a clinch position may never happen. Istela could just dance around the entire time. So Loma is the better fighter. Obviously, a striker coming off a 2-year layoff. It's going to take Istela some time as well to kind of work into the fight. And I think by the time they both are working into the fight, Loma should have the better success on the feet. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking, if we're into the third round and people that have Loma and all these parlays are thinking, she won those rounds, right? Kind of questioning, like, right? Like, and she should get it done. I'm not saying that she's going to lose the fight. I like Loma, but, taking Istela lightly here could be interesting, I would say, because Loma, she's not a finisher, and Estela's good.
Yeah, it will be an interesting fight to watch. I mean, I think everybody collectively is on the Loma side. We are as well. Just be a little careful. Be a little careful. -700 starting to get into crazy territory here. $9,500 in DraftKings Fantasy for Loma Lookboonmee. If you don't know what that is, you get a budget. You draft 5 fighters or 6 fighters with that budget. You then take that lineup that you built with those 6 fighters within that budget, and you compete against other people. Sometimes for money, sometimes for fun. Do not spend $9,500 on Loma Lookboonmee. She's not going to win by finish here. I think the over makes a lot of sense in this fight because, to your point, Loma's not a finisher. And she likely has to grapple or will end up grappling after a couple of close striking exchanges. So I don't really see a fight here where Loma's going to spark Istela and drop her and knock her out and finish her, especially a high-level striker. So I'm not going to spend that $9,500. I'm probably not going to spend the $67 either, but certainly not the $9,500. If you do want to unlock all the picks, the bets, and the tools, including the artificial intelligence, which had a spectacular UFC Mexico, you can do so now. Go to WeWantPicks.com. You click Become a Member. It's $10 a month. I cannot express enough how little $10 is. Jacob, I think we're going to start a series where we ask people, what's the dumbest thing you spent $10 on? And we just read off our favorite ones because it's only $10 for an entire month's worth of access. Here's $5 from B. I hit that Emmers KO round 1 this weekend. That was a Jakey Boy prop bet, wasn't it? It was. I enjoyed the back and forth on Twitter during the fights, Jacob. Salute. Thank you so much.
David round 1 as well.
There you go. You had your prop bets were actually really super good. Nice props, Jake.